Welcome to the next episode of Gray Mason Gaming Plays Neptunes Pride. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the Gamma Bertum galaxy. And what is unique about this one? Well, it's not just a dark star, it's a dark galaxy. So this is one of the new 64-player variants with some randomness. In this one, we have some rare warp gates enabled. We are a dark galaxy, meaning we only see what we can see with scan. We do not see the entire universe. We do see the leaderboard and where people are at, but we don't know where, what's going on. Beyond that, everything else is standard, with the exception of the range is 3 and scanning is 3, because otherwise you could easily just get stuck the entire game. In this episode, we're going to explore what it means to be in a dark galaxy. And one of the things that's most unique is in a normal visible galaxy, as the game progresses and you see who's the leader, you can see who they're aligned with and who they're attacking, and you can see the entire map unfold. In this case, you can't, and you don't even know where you are on the map and which way you should be going. I kind of thought, based on this, I was up against like the eastern edge of the map. But let's go ahead and look, and who you're going to ally with. So we start off, looks like a decent enough spawn, and we're going to go ahead through here and just start collecting stars. Our first contact in the game is Baron Von Dawn, somebody I know from Discord, and I said, hey, you know what? You're the first person I met. We can be allies. And they said, great, we can be allies. And so we started. And there was a little running joke that he wants to steal my lungs. I'm not sure what that means and why that's funny, but I just leaned into it, and here we go. There's my lungs. If he wants to get them, come and get them. The other thing is, you'll notice these 2 warp gates, which was like, that's kind of a nice little route to get down here. But listen, hey, we're friends, right? Of course we are. Of course we are. We are friends with Baron Von Dawn. So we progress. And then my world opens up, and I have some new neighbors. To my north, Laspervale, as well as Eurus. Now, Eurus, I come to find out, is Anaris from prior games, and I know who this player is, and they're strong. And Lasper I played with before, and they're a good ally. And when I spoke with all of the players next to me, I'm like, all right, well, these are my 3 people to choose from. I want to join 2 and kill 1. And they basically already allied. They say, hey, we're working together. And I said, you know what? If I ally with Baron Von Dawn, I got to go 1v2 because he can't get up to help me. I kind of need to ally with them. So I basically said, I'll ally with them, and I need to attack somebody, and it becomes Baron Von Dawn. And that is the reason. And that's really all that I could go on at this point. I have no other neighbors. I have to pick one. These people already kind of picked for me. So that is, what is that? It's cycle 13, or tick 13 of cycle 0. We start going. They did a nice job of avoiding casualties, and I've established contact. Now we're going through cycle 1. I'm just collecting resources, and cycle 1, tick 39. Kind of already going at them. I hit we got experimentation, and that allowed us to switch before. Oh, and we knew that he hit weapons too, and I knew he didn't have it. So I'm like, you know what? Let's take advantage of those warp gates. And I know I need to hit them early. Let's just get it done. Let's just take care of Baron Von Dawn. And so I do. Now, like I said, I'm on a Discord. This was not well received by Baron. He was not very happy about this. But needless to say, that's what I had to do. Now we have Crid. Crid was a neighbor and also saw Eurus, so the 4 of us all saw each other. And Crid had business elsewhere, but was friendly enough. And so at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just stay on Baron. I've got my 3-person alliance. That's plenty for now. And so I took the moment. Oh, when you looked at these stars, look how beautiful. Giant Oh, can I not click on those? Yeah. 47 natural resources. 48 natural resources. When you look at Baron versus me, um, I was just a little bit higher than him, but then I had two friends that he didn't have any. Well, he had this friend, and so I said, I think I can take it. Let me press on, and let me get those really good stars. And at that point, my world opens up again. I get a little bit more vision. Do I have vision? I don't think we shared APIs yet. And I'm like, I want to get this really good star too. And I did. And I was able to get there before his 60 landed to do maximum damage. And I said, let's keep pushing. At this point, I noticed Crid coming in and trying to get stars as well. He said this star is one he wanted to get because his home star was like around here. And you know, Baron's fighting back, trying to pick some things off. But I had a little supply chain coming. It was okay. At this point, he was just in trouble, right? I've got everything he has plus terraforming and banking. I'm sorry, Baron. It just has to be what it has to be. So I take another star. Ooh, and now we have a new player enter the game. Verdigris. Verdigris is an incredibly friendly, nice person, and has been allied with Baron. And when I looked at his stats, I'm like, wow, he has more economy than me, and he hasn't built even one industry. I want to take his stars. He hasn't even built one science. I want to take his stars. He just put all his money into economy, which you want a lot of economy, but you can't do this because you're just making yourself a huge target. You have giant stars that are going to have like 20 credits to buy an industry, or 60 credits to buy a science. You need to be able to defend your stuff and not just look like a giant piece of food. But I had my hands full with Baron von Dawn. He wasn't lying down. He wasn't taking it easy. I blow up his counterattack. He counters some more. I push in, try to make a play. And then this popped up on the screen. And I said, oh, shit. I can't handle that. And so it was at this point of the game that I said, hey, I think I had just launched, right? And I see him coming in. I took these stars here, but I knew I couldn't finish the job on Baron. He was at 6 stars to my 16. I knew I couldn't finish the job because Baron had friends. We're at cycle 4. I cannot deal with his 152 ships. So I made a deal. And the deal was I will stop attacking Baron von Dawn, and then Verdigris will not attack me. And I said, yeah, that's a great deal for me. I'll let you live. Now, meanwhile, up here, let's just take a quick timeout on my escapades. Yeah. And you can see we had an AFK player, another AFK player, and so Eurus is making some good progress here. As a matter of fact, he's ahead of me by 20 stars. He's kind of chewing up this AI. We go back a day. Oops, that may have been too much. Oh, yeah, when does this shut? Yeah, there we go. You can see he's making good work. And then Lasper, same thing, is up here and making good progress, and he's fighting against Waven. So Waven is doing decent. So those are the two enemies, Waven and a bunch of bots. And so my northern team is doing well. But I don't have a southern team. I'm my own southern team, and I have 3 enemies to face. Right? I have Crid, I have Verdigris, and I have Baron von Dawn. I was able to get Crid to attack a little bit. But I need them to fight each other and not me. So I did a little play here, and I asked Verdigris if I can expand through him and take a star just to help him in his south. And he agreed. He agreed. He moved these 132 ships away from me, and I said, thank goodness. Now I can contain Baron and let him feel like he's not going to be killed, while I could grow elsewhere and get visibility of what's going on. So if we go back to where we're at tick 5 or cycle 5, and at this point I get a little more vision, and then I see, is that the home star? Yeah, this is Verdigris's home star, and we see that Crid is attacking him. So basically what I did with these three is I talked Crid into attacking this super nice guy Verdigris, and then I was talking to Baron. I said, hey, you don't want to attack me because I'm too strong. There's no one else for you to attack. You need to attack Verdigris. So I had everyone attacking Verdigris, and then I told Verdigris, I'm going to defend you. And so that is how I 1v3'd, because I got them all to attack each other. I defended them and took their stars to defend them, and I get everything. So that was, and right now, by the way, on the leaderboard, where am I at? Like, I'm like down here, right? I'm not doing well, right? This is a tough start. And there's most of the people, and there's a Zeus, who I later find out is Lofty. Kane, of course, is always there if he's in the game with you. Fu is in the game. Aurum, who has reached out to me, but he would reach out to everyone. And Wave and some of the other names, Crid, right? So I'm like not doing well at this point at cycle 5. I've got 2 solid alliance members, but I'm not growing at the pace I want to be growing at. But a little bit of magic here, and what you'll see is what you see is Crid attacking Verdigris, and then you see Baron attacking Verdigris. And so I'm like, I need to save you. I will save the day, and part of saving the day is taking your stuff. At that point, I thought Crid was my biggest threat. I said, I'm going to go, I need to fight Crid. I need to clean up Baron, but we have my ally Eurus sending some ships down. And so he was going to help me out. The fight up here is going well. Math entered the equation on the far side of the AI, and so this is about as far as he is able to get. And Waven is still looking strong. We found, here's another AFK guy, right? So Waven, he's at 633, 16 against, you know, he's outpacing Lasper, and Eurus is also being stuck by, as soon as he kills one player, there's like another one right behind him. We're still not sure exactly where we are. We thought we were the northeast corner, or maybe the southeast corner, or maybe like the northeast corner of the southwest quadrant. Still not actually sure exactly where we're at in this game. And if you look back at the leaderboard here, there's no one on my team doing particularly well. So we're not a big threat at least, but that's okay. So, Cycle 6, what do? We carry on with Operation Get Everyone to Attack Each Other and not me. I attack Crid. I'm going in for his home star. I saw an opportunity to take his home star, and I went for it. And I knew I had reinforcements coming to take this big star. I knew that he was coming down to get that star. And so I felt like we would put a big dent into Crid at this point. I'm also going down to get these stars. And so we have Verdigris dealing with Baron. So they're fighting each other. That opens me up to be able to attack just one of them. And then weakening each other so I could clean them up when the battle is over. So we push in. And this, I want to show you this. This is kind of a little key moment. Right at this moment that I refreshed, I saw this warp gate get turned on. So I turned on the warp gate because I knew he was going to be sending in reinforcements from behind. So I predicted this in the same... Oh, no, yeah, so they go right there. I saw the warp gate, so I turned on my warp gate And boom, I landed before these 60 could get there. Had I not warp gated this, I would not have gotten his home star. And now I get defensive bonus, and now I can hold it. It was at this point that I had conversations with Corporation. I had been talking with him a little bit, and he said he was on the far side of Crid. And so I said, you know what, I need an ally down here. Would you ally with me? And so he said, sure. He was getting attacked by this guy, Gardner. But Crid basically said he's dead once he lost his homeworld. And so Crid was giving his stars to Corporation, who had been a good corporate citizen. And so with that, we said, wonderful. Go ahead and do that. Make sure I have a path. We were pretty sure now that we were in the southeast section of the map. And so I'm in the corner, which is a really great place to be. I needed just to get my path to growth is going to be this way, to the west. But I needed to clean up the corner first. So my priority, these two keep fighting while I push through Crid to get a border, and then these two will atrophy and I'll kill them off. That is the plan. And now we also, by the way, have a 4-man alliance. These two guys, Lasper and Anaris, who is going under the name of Eurus, and Corporation. Now, a little sneak peek, we do end up doing something in the future, but at this point we're not allied with them. We're at cycle 7. Back to the grind. But one of the things you can see is it's really hard to plan far ahead. I have no idea who's on the other side, who's coming. We just don't know who is where. Even with some external conversations in Discord, it was really hard to figure out who would it make sense for me to ally with. And so I'm still just really living in my own world right here. And you'll see I'm just pushing in. So again, I'm pushing in on Crid. He's getting the stars. And down here, this right here was a conflict I was waiting for. Because when those two went away, I knew I could go take their stuff. Right? Like, look at, this is Fergris's home star with 9. I have all these big guys here. He's got nothing. I could go take that. And there's not much up here. So before I commit, I need to let them blow each other up, so he doesn't like pull back at the last minute. But this was the conflict I was waiting to see where they self-destructed. Meanwhile, over on Crid, I'm continuing to make progress, and Crid is continuing to just die. They did blow each other up over here. Go back, right? So watch this. They're about to connect. They blow up. Boom. All right, Verticrus. Basically, what I said to him at this point, I'm like, hey, you're on 9 stars. You got 144 ships. You're not going to be relevant. You want to just stay around and give me banking. And he agreed. I'm like, that's great. So that's what we'll do. So I'll take your good stuff, and then I'll use that plus my own to finish off Baron, who at this point I had honored a week-long ceasefire, right? It had been, well, not quite a week yet, but I think it ends up being about a week. And I go through and take their stuff. You can see at that point we also said, hey, Crid, can you go? You can keep the star. You can feed banking to Corporation. And he agreed to that. He said, sure. And I said, hey, can you throw your ships into the enemy? Because backing up a little bit, Corporation is in a fight for his life. We couldn't have come at a sooner time. He was also allied with Winter, but Winter went AFK or quit or something. And so I knew I needed to get over there, and Corporation needed Crid's help. So basically he's like, fine, I'm dead. I'll throw my ships into him, take my stuff. And at this point now at cycle 7, that's how I start climbing up the ranks. Now I'm at 26. And Zeus is at 38, so I'm not half of what they used to be anymore. My northern friends still somewhat in a deadlock, still pushing in against Math and Waven. those are the bad guys up in the north. We find, and we still have some AFK people up here, Grumpy Weave or whatever. They're just whatever. This part of the map is just a barren ghost town. But we're doing good. We're doing okay. We're at cycle 7. And we're going to be looking over here for our opportunities to push in. I find it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, at this point, I hadn't yet hit Baron. I was still saying I was allied with him for cycle 7. I needed him to move those 75 ships off his home star so I could snipe it. And I wanted those 84 to move down, so I said, hey, why don't you move down there and get Verd's stuff? And he said, okay. And I said, you just moved? You just moved the 73 and the 84. There's no longer a threat up here. Instantly, mad dash for the home star. He comes back to defend it, but it's too late. First of all, I'm a weapons level up. Second of all, now I've got your home star. And I warp gate it and bring in the reinforcements. And at this point, he's dead. He's really dead. I'm going to need to clean him up, but that was the play down here of cleaning all this stuff up. Over on the west, I'll go back a little bit. You can see there were some of these stars that Crid had warp gated, and I first see Atlas Ragnar coming in, and we're gonna blow it up each other. Atlas Ragnar is allied with Guy Gardner, so it's these two, and I think and they have a third back here. They tried to negotiate and wanted to ally with us, and we had a bunch of conversations, and basically it came down to them saying, we will ally with you, but we won't give you a path. You need to go the other way. I said, well, we already have people the other way. I'm really curious, knowing now how things are turning out, what would have happened if I did do that. But I didn't. I was not going to send 4 people in one direction and just turn tail and go. Partially because when you look at it, I'm bigger than you. Now, I was down in ships to some level, the Guy Gardner, and he was up in ship count, but not in production, and I was up in tech. I wasn't afraid. The two of us I knew could take the 2 of them, especially once I cleaned this back up here and had all those extra resources to push west. So the negotiations didn't really go stellar. Kind of a stalemate, and like, hey, yeah, we can ally if we both just go the other way, and neither of us were willing to do that. I was concerned where Zeus, Cain, and Fu were at this point. I had managed by cycle 8 to get up into the top ranks, or close to the top ranks. My conversations with Orym continued. Orym had been saying he's in the southwest corner, and there were a few empires between us, beyond just Ragnar and Guy Gardner. But I knew we were going to need friends, because we weren't making the progress in the north, and even though I was up here doing well, we were struggling a little bit. And so we started to negotiate on what that might look like. But we needed to get to them first. And so we tried. I was able to take this star and do some damage. You see we have Ragnar coming in. You see Guy Gardner there with Corporation going at it. And me cleaning things up back here. So we're on cycle 8. And things are going pretty well. Baron tried a little, take his capital back. Let's see how that goes. Oh, it doesn't. So at this point, Baron was down to 1 star with 6 ships. Good game. At this point, Verdigris was down to 4 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was about to get those, and he was happy to just give me banking and stay back. And Crid was down to just 2 stars, those two. And we were going to take, and Corporation, I think, or me, or one of us is going to take this star. So cleanup complete. And so now we are looking again at the big picture. My northern allies are fighting ferociously, but as soon as one person goes down, the next comes up. Waven continues to keep pace with us for the most part with tech and ship count. And fighting math is also very problematic. So those two have their hands full. Again, they're going into the center, so as soon as one person's gone, like the next person's behind them. So let's look what happens next. Cycle 9. By the way, at this point, I think I know Zeus is in the northwest corner, the furthest away from me as possible. And Cain is more to his south, is my understanding. So more like the 9 o'clock position, pretty far from me still. Orem and Reglin are together in that southwest corner, and Fu, haven't seen him yet, but we're about to. And then all these other people down here are, somewhat not important yet. So we are fighting for our lives. We are pushing out. And I have, at this point, because I was doing so well, I have a nice strong infrastructure and a nice strong supply chain. So even though he had more ships than me, and if we go, let's go back a little bit, because I think I showed you, like, he was ahead of me in ships, right? So yeah, so he's ahead of me in ships back here. But he's thrown, where's he start to go down? He threw some into me. Should probably have it on him. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's on the back end that happened. I don't actually know. Or it could have been production, right? I think that maybe that was it. He's only producing 15 ships to my 42. So even though he had more ships, I knew that by stalling with them, and I stalled for like 2 days, where I said we were negotiating. But that was time for my production to catch up and for me to clean up the back end and for me to build my infrastructure so I could very quickly get all my ships to the front line. And that was their mistake for not pushing on us, because they should have looked at us in cycle 7 when we met, saw that they had more ships, but saw that we had more production, and pushed in and got some of that production before we could do anything about it. So now that we have the ship count, we are in cycle 9 right there. Cycle 9, boom, that's where I launched. Like, all right, I've got a nice little supply chain coming. My back side is secure. My north side is secure. Everything's funneled in the direction I need it to be funneled. I'm doing well on all the tech. I'm doing well on all my stats. Can't do much about Zeus, but whatever. And I launch. And unsurprisingly, they cut the warp gate. They counter punch. They're a decent player. The last second, I don't know if you noticed this. So I cut the warp gate, and then right before he takes it, I turn the warp gate on so I can get my ship here, hoping to catch him sleeping. He took some damage. He did a counter punch. Like, he countered me here, but because of my supply chain, I was going to be able to stop it. So you can see right here, it's all cleaned up. And now all of this is cleaned up, and during that whole fight I was able to continue to press in, continue to see their where they're at. We're on cycle 11. I've got everything super smooth built up on the backside. Everything's flowing in. I'm at 57 stars with 53 carriers. It's almost not fair against his now 16 stars and 7 carriers and twice his ships and 5 times his production. So this fight is about over. Up in the north, we haven't really changed much. They've just been bashing their heads. between Waven and Lasper, and now Math had quit. And what we find out later why is because there was someone eating him from behind. That's the problem with playing in the middle. We knew that our backs were protected, so everything could flow in one direction, and that's why it's so much easier. So we still at this point hadn't made our deal with the West. I think we were getting close though. So we continue on the fight, cycle 11. And here, Corporation is finally making some good headway. I'm coming down there, making some good, helping him out a little bit too. And they were very kind to leave this warp gate up for me. If you're, by the way, playing a game, don't do that. I mean, he saved me. Let's count how much, what a big difference that makes, because kind of your tempo, right, is a big deal. I took the star in 7 hours instead of 20 hours, and you know, that's a big difference. And there's a lot of things. I think at this point though, he was kind of given up. So once I got here, I just skipped past his big. Notice I just skipped past his big thing. I don't want to fight your 450 ships. I've got 450 ships. I want to go behind you, so I just went right past it. I backfilled in case he tried to counterattack. I took it. And now, oh, baby, juicy back lines with not having to kill those ships first. So immediately launch, looking for other warp gates. They counterattacked, but again, because I had my infrastructure in place, I was able to get into shape, and I still had another 500 to defend from this 450, and there we go. Here's the other ally, Sarcast. That was the third player between these guys, and okay, so that is not a threatening looking player for me right now, and we are going to clean up these stars. Corporation's going to clean up these stars, and we're going to take this middle section. My allies, meanwhile, making a little bit of progress, but you know, they got the AI taking over for Math. Waven is still strong, and so we know there's something big coming from behind, and we are about to now finally negotiate with the Southwest and make the deal. And what we find out is, at this point, even though I'm so far ahead, Orem, who is Osric, is 2 weapon levels ahead. He's been pushing all game on keeping a weapons lead, which has kept his Southwest Quadrant alive from the Empire we're about to face between us. And so we basically said, we formed an agreement, R4 and his 3, and said, let's unite, we'll push together. Who's between us? None other than Gingy, the Jewish Star Empire, Pink Diamond, who ironically is a pink triangle, and Bellum, who's not yet appeared. So there's a formidable opponent between us. And if we can break through them and connect, then I can give Orem the terraforming and range and manufacturing that his team hasn't been able to produce. And he can give us the weapons boost, and we can basically become a southern alliance that pushes north into the threat of Zeus, Cain, Max Min, Fu, and whomever else is in the darkness to the north.
Alright, so let's see who's in the darkness between us. And outside of range, we're pushing on cycle 12 with a goal to get through our bad guys. There's Sarcast, there's Guy Gardner, and the remnants of Ragnar. And we have a new little person showing up, Bellum. It's Bellum. And you can see from a tech perspective, he is very well teched up, beating us in range, experiments, banking, and holding the own with everything except for terraforming that I'd been pumping out. Now, Orm has more weapons than him, but I don't have the weapons that Orm has yet. So this Central Empire is going to be not as easy as all the other groups that I've been facing. And so you can see me going in here, and there's also now Bellum finishing off Ragnar as well. And all we can do is push. All we can do is push, because now we are basically, we made the agreement, or we rejected the agreement to work with them. We have to push through them. And at this point, you see more and more red popping up on the screen, to the point now where Bellum has engaged me directly. This green team, basically, Sarcast gave Bellum their stars and fought me. So it seems like at the very beginning stages, I was able to manipulate the landscape and make big strides. Now that we're in the mid game, I've lost the diplomatic edge, and the other teams are getting the players that are on their way out to help them and not me. And so that makes things a lot harder. But that being said, I'm much bigger than Bellum. If we look at how things from a star perspective, the tech he's kept up, but I still have 6,100 to 2,600. Not quite double his production. And I've got no one else to fight at this point. I'm doing a little bit of dabbling to help Corporation get up here. And Sarcast, at this point, I'm going to basically ask, I told him I won't kill him, and then I asked later for banking. So he ends up feeding me banking all game, and these 3 stars he'll just keep. I said, okay, I won't attack you, I won't attack Bellum. He just wanted to survive, so he was fine with that. Up in the north here, the other thing that happened, I'm going to go back a day. What cycle is this? I'm going to go to, where we left off on cycle 12. Up in the north here, remember we were facing, so Eurus was facing Math, who quit from a threat from behind. Well, who is it? It's Fu, and it's Max Min. Later I find out this is Max Min's second game, but he's doing really, really well. He's aligned with Kane. Fu's aligned with Kane. The same tech signature. And so just, we get one person dead, and then there's another. We get the next person dead, and then there's another. And so this northern group, Waven, still fighting strong. And Waven and Max Min apparently are real friends in real life or something like that. And so any attempt to get them to flip to join us is going to be lost. And so Laspers and Eurus are fighting strong, but there's just one wave after another wave that apparently don't fight each other. It seems they only fight us. And so looking on this front, you can see we made a little bit of progress, but then Max Min is just cleaning up the AI up here, and Fu a little bit of kind of got held off here. We made a little bit of progress up here, but again, Waven is all over it. So that's what's happening up in the north. Back down here. Oh yeah, I think I was past this. Yeah, so this is where we finished off. Guy Gardner. Bellum's down here as well, and we are just pushing in on Bellum. Again, the goal right now is to connect. Now, there was a lot of diplomatic conversations going on between Orm and the central group. I believe at this point, Dalinar was either quitting or giving up his stars. Gingy was pretty much beat down. And so Jewish Star Empire was just wanted to consolidate back to 1 star. So we were winning, and we being Orm's alliance were winning here. We were keeping Bellum completely occupied, and so my future allies here seem to be doing quite well. And that brings us to cycle 16. We can maybe keep it a little bit. Well, that's too broad. Let's do this. Yeah. And so
you can see here's Orem, and we're like, we just need to connect. Top priority at this point is for us to connect. And there's a lot of red, a sea of red we have to get through. I do make a push and get into the central region here, and trying to take advantage of enemy warp gates. He's pretty good about cutting those off and countering. Bellum fought really well. That being said, because he was so focused on me, Orm was able to make headway. And now you're looking at, I've got my infrastructure set up. We are just out of scan range here. So what are we at now? Now we're at cycle 17, but we're close. We're so close we can taste it. And we have now Fu appearing here, throwing some mild annoying ships at us. Fu we see is up top here as well, so he kind of must be in this section like that. So in addition to Bellum, now I have to contend with Kane, but now we have Corporation arrived, and this was huge because obviously he had a lot of built-up ships, and so now he's able to really help bolster the fight in the middle. So now it's Corporation and I against Bellum and Fu, and over here, JSC, Dalinar at this point had quit, so his stars go away. Jinji's he's pretty weak at this point, so my new western friends of Orem, Riglin, and Amarna are doing well enough. They've also, Orem had a nice negotiations with Zudium to have peace, and then Jim Hawkins, who was mostly AFK and ends up getting eaten. He basically just puts his ships in a death ball and sends it at us. So lets the bad guys, lets Zeus in the north take his stars and just throws all the ships at us. It's a great move if you can pull it off. And up here you can see, let me go back, because this is kind of an important step in this whole process as well. So we're on cycle 13, and they start losing, and basically we said, okay, I need to start getting some ships up to the front line. So cycle 14, let's see when I do it. It should be soon. 15, there we go. Cycle 16 is when we say, okay, they cried uncle and said, we need help. We're losing ground. Min-Max, Waven are too strong. And so I took first just this little cluster of ships and hoping that would be enough, and then you'll see over time, and I'll just focus on this right now, as we start losing, I just had a shift in cycle 17 to get this entire cluster to come up here, because even with me sending all of this, it still wasn't enough. They were just sending in, Max-Min at this point had more ships than me, because I was constantly fighting in the north. Apparently they don't fight, they just give each other tech and send their ships down to the south. So not cool, man, not cool. We have huge clumps of 3,100 ships, 2,000 ships, 3,000 ships. So you have like another 1,600, another 1,800. We are not even in the ballpark of being close. Me personally, I'm on a high star count, and on individual stats it's fine, but we're literally against like 10 to 12 empires. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 7 of us against, let's just say 14. Like they have double us. And if you look at where like the size of the universe, we're maybe 25%, 20-25% against the other 75-80%. And so that's where we started to say, okay, we're about to make progress in the middle. Once we connect, will that be the catalyst to allow us to start to make progress? Because we're behind on almost all the techs except for weapons, but they've caught up on everything else, and so it's looking grim at this point. A lot of people would just quit. Even in my position, there's a lot of people at cycle 17 say, yep, because we've tried also to negotiate politically, and no one was willing to flip. So let's continue, because so just know over here I continually add more and more clusters to fight in the east as our presence in the center strengthens. But we have to get rid of Bellum first to be able to connect and get corporation up there and get these guys up there. So that is the mission still. So we are on cycle 17. And at this point, wait, what is this? Who came in? Oh, it's Kane. Of course it's Kane. Because we were just about to make progress. So let's add another empire that's got more than 3,000 more ships than me. That's fair. Okay. So, we'll fine. Oh no, yeah, just go ahead and take all those stars that we've been fighting for. That's cool. You know, we don't need those stars. But I can't focus on Kane. I need to focus on connecting with Aurum. Because until we do, if we can't do that, we are dead. But, you know, that's really hard. So we are on cycle 18. Oh yeah, over here what happened? Oh, there's Jim Hawkins showing up. He's there too. So we've got, you know, a massive amount of enemies over here, over here. Luckily, Aurum had done a nice job politically not getting any keeping the peace in the west. We still haven't completely finished off consuming Gingy. He's still got some ships. JSE still not completely gone. And so yeah, it's looking really bad. But we're holding on because we hope that something in the north breaks and they will fight each other. But this was a big move right here. Right there, cycle 18, we have now connected. And go back a tick. Oh, maybe we have vision here. Well, I'm not sure how we connected before. No, maybe. Oh, I just caught up with them. Yeah, you're looking now. You're looking at his terraform, like all his stats that he needs from me. And there, so right there we're connected. And at this point, so now on cycle 18, this tick, we finally connected, and now all the techs are shared between us. So that, and then we're able to coordinate by science count who's going to get what science. And we're like, all right, hopefully this gives us the boost we need. We're kind of starting to lose ground over here more and more. And but Bellum is starting to fall, but now we have to deal with Kane. And oh, by the way, we've not seen Zeus. Zeus has got 10,000 more ships than me, and we are struggling with not him, just all of his team. But now we see Kane, Max Min. Okay, this is me. Aurum Incorporation or me, but we see Fu, Reglan's us. But we see Waven, Honest John, like basically Kingpin. We see all these top players are all fighting us. Bellum, they're still all fighting us. We just have our team. And they don't seem to be fighting amongst themselves at all and just letting Zeus grow big. Even though I have more stars than him, he still has 10,000 more ships than me. He's got 100 more economy than me. He's in much, much better shape. That's why you can't always just look at the leaderboard. There's a lot more to it. Zeus is clearly in the driver's position right now, at least from my perspective. So we carry forward, and at this point now, Bellum, we've captured enough in the center that we can clean up a Bellum. And I also now have taken this entire section and routed it to the north because we're just losing in the east. And so now I just have this tiny part supporting the center. Everything from corporations going up there, but we are struggling in the east. And we're working to finish off Bellum. JSE now has been consolidated to 1 star. Gingy's gone. Bellum has quit. So At this point now, we have truly consolidated the South. We're at cycle 20, and we have a lot of fighting ahead of us now, though, to break through what we have. In the center is Kane, who I'm slightly caught up on ships now because we've been barraging him and he's been just taking a beating. We have Fu, who's hitting us in the center in the east. We have Max Min, who's been doing great in the east. We have Waven, who's been our nemesis from day one, still standing strong and still pushing on us. And then over here, they have peace, thankfully. Thankfully, they have peace, and we haven't seen Zeus yet. So that puts us to cycle 20, when the next phase of the game starts, which is pushing on our 3 fronts. So we push out, and let's see how that goes. Again, we don't really know the diplomacy and what's really happening. It just seems like everyone is against us. And as things progress, and let me put the leaderboard back up here, you can see in the eastern... Oops, I went backwards the wrong way. You can see that we're a little bit of a stalemate here. You can see over here, same thing, a bit of a stalemate. And over here, they actually have begun to attack. So the Western Front, the calm in the west has stopped 2 cycles later. We've made little progress, even though Corporation finally got there, even though we're gathering tech. There's just a lot in the middle. Now, Kane's taking serious damage, but not fatal damage. And so you can see here we're continuing to... well, it was about... Where was it? So we're cycle 21. So we're looking at this green, and at this point, my team, so Eurus is like, you know what? Just take my stars. I'm too weak. And so there they go in. You can see I start to consolidate at cycle 21 because he's like, I don't have enough, and it didn't make sense to continue on. And so we start doing that, and about this time, well, Corporation was still kicking. Now Kane is also striking cycle 23 in the west, so now Orem can't just be funneling to the center. You know, he really had just, you know, we cleared out the middle. He's going to try to do his best to defend, but there's a lot of bad guys. And so cycle 23, at this point my team was like, hey, we should try to consolidate, because between all of us we have more than 300 stars and we can just win. And I pushed back, and in hindsight, had I done it here when the team asked me to, I probably would have won. I may still win. This game's not over yet, but I thought still that there was hope to break through the middle and to get the other teams to fight each other. And I just couldn't get Zeus and Cain and all those to fight each other. And so we continue, and you can see it was about, we're still fighting here, it was about cycle 25 where you'll see the fighting. I had made some progress up here, but you know, all that does is lets me see more death coming my way. But it was about cycle 25 that we had peace. And so this is where we agreed to stall, and I was in deep negotiations at this point with all parties left. And they stopped attacking because what we were trying to negotiate was, what would it take for me to join them? And I was trying to tell Max Min, work with me, you and Waven, like, why are you going to let Zeus win? Work with me, and I'll be happy to get 3rd place. And he said no. Well, he was triggering, but then Kane had to buy in, and Kane was like, nope, we have a non-aggression pact with Zeus and Kingpin in the north that we will fight together as one against the south until no one in the south is higher than 5th place, which basically is a non-starter for me. So I think I could have negotiated with Max Min and Waven, and they probably could have got 1st and 2nd and me 3rd,
still giving me a chance to get to win. But Kane basically said, no way, that's not going to work for us. Meanwhile, with Zeus, he really wasn't giving me much at all. So at that point, I said, okay, guys, I think we do need to do the consolidation. I do think we need to go ahead and try to win that other way. So you'll see it was, yeah, cycle 24 is actually when we started to say, okay, we just need to consolidate. And you can see me taking all the yellow stars. I still had peace over here, but that's when Zeus showed up with his big amount of ships in cycle 25. So I had started to consolidate. They know I started to consolidate. The problem is I just wasn't in position to get over here. So had I started in cycle 23, I might have been able to do it. But you know, I'm just now, again, if we go back, when was this? Yeah, cycle 24. So cycle 24 is when I started. You can see the yellow down here, same thing. I'm efficiently taking this out, and my team's playing great, but it just doesn't matter. And I'm going up the leaderboard, but I'm holding in the center, still peace over here. I don't know why they didn't attack, but Kane and Zeus were making progress in the west. So you look in the west, and Orm did a fantastic defensive job, but completely overwhelmed. And look at all the pink armies coming our way. And about cycle 28 is when the middle broke down to. Yeah, if I go back to cycle 25, yeah. So you can see in the center, pink starting to break down here. This is the center, and I'm just losing ground. And that's when it. Yeah, right. So Zeus showed up here. Here's 7,000 ships. I had plenty of ships. When you look overall, Zeus still outgunned me, but not by nearly as much. And at this point, I was ahead. Actually, there was probably a point where I was even further ahead. With Max Min, you know, I was well above him. I was the single strongest player in the game. You know, look at Kane. I'm way stronger than Kane. But they just all had agreed to keep on me until I was dead. And so it was about here where I said, okay, there's no way I'm going to get Kane, Max Min, and Waven. And Fu was with them as well. He still got a few ships. Those four are the center lines. They're not going to flip on me. They're not going to stop fighting until I'm at least 5th on the leaderboard, which is a sad way to go when I got so close. I actually think I was at 250. I get to 250 at some point. Yeah, I get up almost to 250. Yeah, there I go. Yeah, one glorious tick in cycle 28 where I'm at 250 stars, 41 away from the victory. But at that point, the middle had broken. I'd gotten, you know, we'd gotten the bad guys in the east, and my ability to get any more stars in the west, I met up with the Goliath of Kane and Lofty over here, and so that was it. That was as close as I was going to get. And so I made a deal with Lofty. I said, hey, here's what the center plans on doing. I'm happy you getting first. Let me get second. And so he said he was going to start taking Kingpin's stars. I would give up my stars to him, and he would take them from me. And I have enough to spare to allow him to catch up. He said once he gets the same number of stars as me, that he'll start attacking everyone at end the game. So that was at cycle 28. So we go fast forward here. We'll just kind of look at big picture because the individual fighting at this point doesn't matter. But what you can see is the orange disappearing. And to the point where we are right now in cycle 29 with an hour to go. Lofty has passed me up. He is only 60 stars away from winning. If he took all 60 stars from me, that will put me at 180. I still could get second if Max Min doesn't get any more stars. It would be nice if he took some of the... He told me he would take some Kingpin stars and some of their stars too. So that's what I'm hoping for. I don't see... The only way I could win right now is if if Zeus does attack them and it pisses them off, and they retaliate against him trying to get the win. Because otherwise,
Lofty first, me second, Maxmin third, which is a very likely scenario, which I would probably be okay with at this point. But I still can win if they fight amongst themselves. All right, let's bring this to closure here. As you can see, I'm going to record from tick 600 to the end. The game has ended, so I do now know how the results are. Yeah, at this point, things look grim, and I needed a little bit of help to podium, let alone win. But win was not off the table. So the main thing at this point was speeding Zeus Lofty up and slowing everyone else down. So cutting all these warp gates, defending, and I was trying to basically help Zeus gain stars, stopping Max Min and Kane from getting stars. But you'll see things like, even though Fu was down with 5 stars, I was not defending. He still had 10,000 ships, and I wasn't defending against them. I was intentionally, like when like right here's a good example. He's sending 5,000 ships at me. I don't even waste the 460. I instead launch up here to just continue to weaken the pink team. Same thing here. I could have probably defended against him, but I didn't. Instead, I sent them up. So I was constantly, that's the thing you got to be aware of what your objective is and what you're playing for. At this point, the most likely scenario to me was Zeus wins, unless they fight, which would be my ideal. But instead, if that doesn't happen, I want I want to get second. And yeah. So that was my priority, and if we just look back, I don't know what angle is the best to watch, but I lose ground. I lose ground to the point where, yeah, it's bad over here, it's bad over there. Luckily, the landscape for Kane in the west was he had to traverse very long distances. And I was able to take a lot of my ships and defend against these initial barrages. In the center, I was losing ground fast. And then I had things like where I had this guy, Fu, was, warping, attacking me. I wasn't defending. Then he'd warp and let his team come in. It was just what I had to deal with. And Zeus at this point only needed, what does he need? Not that many stars. So what is that, 21 stars? And I was still second place, really close. But as you always watch the colors here, it shifted to right there, where Max Min passed me up. And at that point, I also saw no way that I was going to reverse that. I had tried to talk to so basically Lofty was getting pressure from Kane and Max Min to say, hey, we've been working together this whole time. Let's sweep the podium. My argument with Lofty was, hey, wouldn't it be nice if there was a representative from all 3 alliances on the podium? At least let me get third. Just end it, let me get third. Because then you win. You won, you did the best. The Central Alliance with Max Min would be represented as second strongest alliance. But like, I was a player, you should at least reward me for that. Give me third. Quite frankly, I wanted to be Kane more than anything, just bragging rights. So he basically, at the end, let that happen. And it got so close. So you can watch the star count. And right here, the last tick, Lofty wins. There were 4 stars between us, so 3 stars. If Kane takes 3 of my stars or 2 stars and I lose 1 to somebody else, it reverses. And I will put a link. There'll be a link here on, Kane did a video of this too, which is outstanding. I just watched that. It shows the entire perspective and all the diplomacy that he had to do, starting from this position here. And there was so much going on that I had no idea. You saw, like, my world was just the southern half, and this was all just black mystery of I have no idea who's with who. I can look at technical signatures, but ultimately, by the time I got to the front line, everyone to the north of me was an enemy. There was nobody willing to work with me. So even though there was this turmoil and multiple situations where they almost attacked each other, I think they said at one point they had orders, and like 2 minutes before the tick ended, they canceled it. So it was incredibly close. And had they fought, I certainly would have won. But they showed great diplomacy. Oh, and apparently Lofty's alliance of Kingpin and others were constantly wanting to attack the middle. And he did a great job of holding his team together and doing what was best for him. Because again, if these two alliances fight, it's over, and I probably win, and Orem probably gets second, and who is a yellow player there? Yeah, probably gets there. Rieglin probably gets third. That's probably how this game would have ended up if those two fought. And as it stands, with this one, I won, and Kane was 4 ticks away. 4 ticks. So in about 4 hours, 3 hours. In 3 hours, I'm out of the podium, and Kane gets what he wanted. So ultimately, I'm happy with how things turned out. It was a good game. Zeus and Maxmin played heroically. I would have preferred first. It was close. I think there were multiple opportunities, but the diplomacy of the North and Central bested me. And maybe I panicked and pulled the trigger in uniting the South too soon, but quite frankly, I feel like that was still my best play. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. My first Dark Galaxy game in Neptunes Pride. Very different experience, but thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, click on the link for the next episode, and don't forget to click subscribe for more content.